Welcome to SUPRS Live. This is the Supermodified Ultimate Pavement Racing Series, the original Supermodified Sim Racing Sanction, and we are glad you could be with us here tonight. It is the SUPRS Copper World Classic 15 presented by Kern Motorsports. Hey, we're at Phoenix International Raceway. I'm Bob Gamer. I'll be your host here tonight. And hope you enjoy some great super modified sim racing. We've got a doubleheader in the desert here tonight, and it's 2 for the price of 1 at the legendary Phoenix International Raceway. We've just got some great fast race car drivers out there tonight driving the ultimate short track race car. And earlier in time trials for the Wing Super Modifieds, fast qualifier was Brad Keyser out of Liverpool, New York. And Brad stopping the clocks with a 23.075 and a 22.928 his best lap. And then in the non-wing cars, time trials complete for them as well. Dave O out of Union, Connecticut, your new track record holder, breaking the track record that was just a year old with a 21.731. Congratulations to those two fast race car drivers. The Super Modifieds for the Wing Super Modifieds will have a heat race, 2 heat races tonight before their feature, and then we will run our non-wing feature after that. Both features are 25 laps. The heat races are 8 laps. Just get you up to speed a little bit on what to expect for the broadcast this evening. And we'll have a quick break after our wing feature to get reset for our non-wing. Well, last week he finished up one heck of a run in Florida, and it was something to behold. It was one of the most competitive Florida Speedweeks we've ever had in the 12 versions of that we've done in our 15-year history. We ran 5 nights at 5 different tracks, and we had 3 different winners. But we had a tie at the end of the night, or the end of the 5th night, for the Florida Speedweeks champion, and Rob Warren was the winner. And I'll tell you, I can't remember the last time we had a tie in points and had to use the tiebreaker of most wins to determine who the Speedweeks champion was. Rob pulled it off. It was his first, believe it or not. As many features and big shows that Rob has won, he'd never won a Florida Speedweeks before. Started out night 1 at New Smyrna Speedway, and it was an exciting race. Everybody expected we'd have a lot more questions than what we did, but only had one major one, but we had plenty of close race at action throughout the evening, and Dave O came home the winner in that one. It was a good show, without a doubt. Close, crazy, get up on the wheel racing. Those guys really hustled it for sure. Night number 2, we went NASCAR heat racing at Black Creek Raceway in Enterprise, Florida. That's a fake track. It's not a real track, but we went racing and had a great race there. In fact, old Carl Becker led the first 11 laps of that race, and they were 4 wide behind him trying to hold him off. It was a doozy for sure. Rob Warren, after making his way through the field, was able to get past Becker and go home and win at Black Creek Raceway for the 2nd year in a row, and that was his first win of the night after not doing so good at New Smyrna the night before. Well, coming into the night, night number 3, Dave O held the points lead, and that race was at Dodge Raceway Stadium. But anybody that was a betting man would have put their money on Nelson Rodriguez, because he is a 2-time defending winner of that race, and when it was all said and done, he became a 3-time winner. 3 years in a row, Nelson Rodriguez had won at Dodge Raceway Stadium. But it sure wasn't without a lot of pressure from Speedy Man Dave O. The great start. The major focus of that race, or the major talking point of that race, happened at about a lap 30 or so, when Carl Becker got wide on the backstretch, and inside that little stadium, he clipped the outside wall and created a huge crash. as the highlight reel shows. It was a wild one with Becker going around and making a big crash. At the end, Dave-O tried for all he was worth to get Rodriguez, just couldn't make it work. Rodriguez came home the winner on night number 3 for the third different winner during Speedweeks. Night number 4, though, we went to the big 3/4 mile at USA International Speedway. And let me tell you something. When you want to go fast in a super modified other than Phoenix, that's probably the place to do it. Long straightaways and big corners that are hairpins and banking. Pretty wild one for sure. Bob Gabler led the first 10 laps of that race, and then Rob Warren was able to get through for the last 17. But a wild, wild, wild finish at USA created when right at the end of the race, Brad Keyser, who was doing so well, got a little bit loose, and the car came around, and a big crash, and Warren went on to win. Keith Powell was able to snake through for about the third or fourth time during Speedweeks, missed disaster, kept his Speedweeks points alive, and his lead alive going into night number 5. So it was really something to see that at the end of that race. Well, and then we went to the 5th and final night at Five Flags Speedway. It was a wild one there as well because Bob Warren got out to an early lead, was pressured early by Brad Keyser. Nobody had anything for Rocket Rob Warren, the driver from Pulaski, New York, at Five Flags. He won. He then, with the win, tied Keith Powell in points, but because he had a win, he was able to come home with the victory. So, in the overall Florida Speedweeks Championship, but definitely a wild, very competitive, very exciting Florida Speedweeks last week. If you haven't seen any of those highlights, you can go to our YouTube channel and you can watch them there, or you can check them out on our Twitch channel as well in our Twitch collections. Thanks to Breeze Graphics for putting those highlights together and making them look so good on our production here tonight. So thank you, Breeze Graphics. Well, we're going to get ready to go with the Copper World Classic. For those of you unfamiliar with the Copper World, it is one of the biggest races ever in Super Modified history. The Super Modifieds no longer run at the Copper World Classic, but back in the day when they did, it was one of those races that everybody wanted to run, and not everybody was able to win. Troy Regier and Davey Hamilton dominated out there at that race. But Doug Sonier, a driver from Ohio, was the very first Copper World Classic champion. Down through the years, great names like Rebel Jackson and Lonnie Adamson, as well as Hamilton and Regier raced in that. Wally Pankratz, Wally Pankratz and Tom Bigelow. A lot of guys raced in the Copper World Classic in the Super Modifieds. So it's cool that we can emulate it here. Something that was done from 1984 to 2002 with a year off in 1991. A couple occasions, the Supers ran without the wings at the Copper World Classic. And tonight, we're going to do that as well for our second feature of the evening. We want to say thanks to Kurt Kern of Kern Motorsports for sponsoring the SUPRS Copper World Classic since 2007. In 1987, Kurt and Ed Williams started the Northwest Super Modified Racing Association, or NSRA, after the United States Auto Club unexpectedly pulled out of sanctioning regional racing out west, left a big void. In 1992, Kurt then formed the Western States Super Modified Tour, the WSST, separating the Super Modifieds from the sprint cars, which continued then and still continue to run under the Northwest Sprint Car Racing Association banner. Kurt was several times an official at the Copper World Classic for the Super Modifieds and says some years I was on the ground in the pit area and a couple years I was in the tower running race control for the Supers. For me, then, it was a very stressful situation, but I looked forward to the 5 days in Phoenix every year, and I also dreaded it at the same time. For the Super Modifieds, it was like their Indianapolis 500-mile race. It was a huge show that made great money and was a short show, only 25 laps most years. Kern's involvement in the real Super Modified division eventually wound down in the late 90s, but he stayed involved and never completely walked away from the division. In fact, for the second year in a row, Kurt's going to head up the Supermodified Racers Reunion at Meridian Speedway for all of the Western States Supermodified racers that many people watched here at Phoenix back in the day at the Copper World Classic. That's going to be held May 31st to June 1st, 2019 at Meridian Speedway. You can check them out on Facebook. Just look for Old Time Racers Group. And also, I think we've got a link on our Facebook page as well. So thanks to Kurt Kern. So many guys are going to be represented out there. Go to the Facebook group. You can contact Kurt Kern at kurtkern@yahoo.com or the promoter at Meridian Speedway, Adam Nelson, via meridianspeedway.com contact page.